Hello viewers, welcome back to Daily Retro. Today we're going to do a little bit of a different episode. So this is going to be sort of a promo for Claire, the Retro Repair Bear. You may have seen her at some events giving out these flyers, but she has now done 2 pieces of work for myself. So I thought it was about time I sort of shared the love and say what she's done. I actually did a tour of her lab space a couple weeks back as of recording. And saw Russ Retro Bear, his her partner as well. So anyway, she has modded my PlayStation 1 and my N64. We're going to go through what she's done, the prices, the time, the communication, everything about her business, and just give you guys a complete overview so that hopefully you can then trust her to do mods or repairs for yourselves. We'll flash up images as we go through, and then we've got a little video of her lab space as well, so keep tuned for that. So we'll go through what she did to my N64 first. For a while I've been wanting to RGB mod my N64. The RGB board's not overly expensive, they're about £45–50 I think. So I invested in the Tim Worthington, which is a Australian made mod, and got this from Australia because there was no UK stock at the time. I'll try and leave a link for these items down in the description. But then I obviously got that RGB board, gave Claire my fantastic N64, which is just that view behind me, and then said, do your thing, see what you can do. So this was obviously a bit more of a technical mod. I'm not usually a massive fan of soldering mods, but this RGB mod comes highly recommended and actually boosts the value of your console if you're ever looking to sort of sell them on as well. And Claire was able to do this mod, I think, for, I think it was £45. That seems to be about sort of the average rate for any sort of mods like that. So yeah, I gave my N64 and the RGB board to Claire, and then the turnaround time was a couple of weeks. That does seem like a high lead time, but honestly it's really not much when you compare to other modders and technicians out there that do the similar thing. When I went to her lab, it was a very busy space. I always like to say it's the same with my job as well. I mean, I work in IT. If you've got a clean, clear lab space, that means you've probably not got enough work on, and that is rightly the case. She has a lot of backlog at the moment, which is really nice to see. Over a month's worth of backlog when I went to see the lab. Just 8-bit computers everywhere, and obviously newer consoles as well, which is always a positive thing to see. And her business has not just grown through YouTube, it has grown through other means as well, just sort of word of mouth, but particularly among the sort of 8-bit computer followers. And what's nice to see is now that because there aren't many other modders in the UK, I can only think of 1 or 2 now. I think she is getting more business because the lead times on the other businesses are a lot higher. In the past I've mentioned Will's Console Mods. He's based in Folkestone, I think. But it seems like he's dropped off the radar recently. He doesn't really seem to be wanting to do new work. So that's kind of disappointing. But that means obviously more work for Claire, and please do send your consoles to her. So from the N64 point of view, this was obviously a soldering mod to the board. I'll flash up some images, and this obviously meant a higher quality video output from my N64. The Power N64 only outputs composite by default, so the RGB mod is really nice, and she was actually able to source an RGB SCART cable for me at the same time from a UK company, which was really nice actually, really nice touch, so that when I went to pay it was £60 including the cable, and then that RGB SCART cable obviously goes into my RetroTink 5X, and my goodness me, it looked absolutely crazy on this TV behind me, just in 1080p via RGB upscaled. Yeah, it was really nice to see. Obviously from the technical side of things, so her soldering skills are really, really nice. I've seen lots of close-up images. She doesn't even have a microscope as yet. I believe she'll be investing in one soon. But yeah, her soldering technique is really, really smart. I do open up my consoles because I am very anal about these things. I'm not an expert solder by any means. If you give me a server or a computer and say put this together, I can do that. But if the things like the joints on PCBs are wrong or PSUs are having errors, I wouldn't have a clue. So I know how computers work, but I don't really know how to fix the sort of electronic side of things. But from what I can see, her soldering skill is really, really good. I have obviously got some skill with soldering, but it's very basic, just sort of soldering Game Boy Color parts to the boards, like speakers and things like that. She's very, very simple, especially on old tech. But she has way more soldering skill than I ever could, just sort of soldering to the CPU pins. That is very, very fine soldering, as some of you may know. Even on late 90s consoles such as the N64 and the PlayStation 1. So that was a really tidy mod. I'm really, really impressed with the output. And then a few weeks later, so she'd been trying to repair a PlayStation 1 disk drive for me at the same time. This didn't really go to plan. Unfortunately, the replacement PlayStation 1 drives you get nowadays are from China, and they work to an extent, but not very well. Definitely not to as high quality as the original sort of Sony lasers, especially. So that's a bit disappointing that there is no sort of new hardware replacement for those. But in the past, I have had the X-Station ODE for the PlayStation 1, and that is a very nice solution. But again, this is a soldering solution. It was very, very smartly done. It comes with a sort of soldering mat to sort of tell you where to put each of the solder points. I think it's called a quick solder board or QCB. And yeah, I sent her the X-Station. We had a few issues because I sent her a PlayStation 1 that had an old version motherboard as well, which wasn't actually compatible with the X-Station. It was an older version, but she was able to source a newer PlayStation 1 for me, add it to the price obviously, but she did that off her own back, which was really, really kind, and able to install the mod really, really smartly. Really impressed with that again so far. Again, that's got a RGB SCART cable going into the 5X, and it looks incredible. From what I understand, there are, as far as I can tell, no other modders in the UK offer, well, not at least modders known about in the community, offer this service of installing the X-Station. If you get the X-Station, it is from America. They have a list of recommended installers. As I mentioned, Will's Console Mods is on there, but for whatever reason, he's very unresponsive to messages of late. And that's not just been sort of the past month, that's been sort of the past year now. So she can do that work for you. I know it is a very common want to do because of what I mentioned about the disk drive replacements not being fantastic nowadays. So it's really nice to have that SD card solution and play my ROMs of my PlayStation 1 games on original hardware. And yeah, it looks, again, beautiful soldering wise. I'll show up some images of that as we go through as well. But yeah, I'm really, really impressed with both of these mods. Claire obviously offers other services as well as mods. So obviously she did try and repair my disk drive. She put far too much time into trying to repair this sort of Chinese replacement, but didn't charge me extra for it, which was very kind again. But obviously then I had the X-Station installed, so that kind of sort of made up for it, hopefully. But she offers obviously the standard full recaps and cleans as well. These are particularly prevalent on sort of older computers like the 8-bit computers and even the 16-bit era consoles like the Mega Drive and the SNES, because those caps do need replacing every sort of 20-30 years ish, and those consoles are obviously older than that nowadays. And the only other thing I can talk about is her sort of knowledge of sort of the moving parts. So this bit is definitely out of my comfort zone. I wouldn't know how to fix it in the slightest, and these are moving parts. So she also offers pairs of floppy disk drives and cassette drives, or cassette decks even, and I have seen pictures of her repairing these, and again it looks like a very tidy job. I'm not aware of anyone else in the UK that does this service, so if you are looking to get your old 8-bit consoles working with the original floppy disks or tapes even, then she is definitely the only person to go to. So it's really nice that she offers a unique service on that part, and she's definitely getting more business because of that. So hopefully that covers most of what you want to know about Claire's business. I'm sort of always looking for ways to improve my console setup, so I'm sure she'll be getting future work from herself as well. But for now, it's just really nice to have all of my sort of childhood consoles all working, playing really nicely, and I've got excellent mods installed in some of them, as I mentioned, and it's just nice to just enjoy them and know that if they do go wrong, then I've got someone local to me who knows how to repair them. So Claire is based in Brierley Hill. We forgot to mention that at the start of the video. This is sort of near Halesowen, which is southwest of Birmingham, but she does offer collect in person every so often from Hidden Chess Gaming, which is a small shop run by Dana in the area. So that saves on postage costs if you want to drop off your consoles there and collect them from there. Obviously some people are very precious about some of their older, more valuable consoles, so it's a good solution for that. But she does offer postal as well. I did actually send her the X Station in the post, so there's definitely options there as to how you go about obtaining her services, and she will give you sort of an estimate price before she even begins, which again is really nice to see. But yeah, hopefully that covers everything for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you've got any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. I'll leave Claire's details for you to get in touch, as she's got a website and an email address, and please do get in touch if you're even considering getting a mod or repair done to your old consoles, and hope to see you in another video very soon, guys. Cheers.